莎莉亚的选项直接见底，再来一刀，1到3人再砍。
나노영과 밑에 떨어지자마자 바로 앞에 큐브가 있었습니다.
啊，불쌍한 뒤쪽에서 빠졌는데赶紧补给一下，直接给。好的，
可以
你看这个节奏就掌握的非常的舒服。嘎子也是对。
둘.
이거 끝났죠?
와 서울. 끝났죠.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another day of Overwatch League APAC action. I am Achilles, reunited yet again with Wolf, and it's good to have you back.
Thanks, man. I'm glad to be back. I'm casting from Atlanta tonight. It's 4 a.m., so it's a bit of a late one for me, but it's not like you've never done these before, so you got through them, and now it's my turn to get through them as well. Two teams going up against each other tonight, Hangzhou Spark and Seoul Dynasty, our first match of the evening. Both teams 11-11, so make a wish at home for your favorite team because Seoul Dynasty, they're on a tear. Hangzhou Spark, I think they need your support if you're a Hangzhou fan.
Yeah, I mean, they had a decent little run back in the Countdown Cup. Were able to make it to the final, but unfortunately, it was a flop there. They got knocked out 0-4 versus the Shanghai Dragons, who just continue to assert their dominance in every single match that they are in. But like you said, Hangzhou, they definitely need to get back on the horse here. They need to find some success. They want to move out ahead of the Seoul Dynasty, break that 11-11, and walk away with the victory here today. Let's go ahead and take a look at their starting six and see what they have prepped for us. And kind of unsurprisingly, as we do go ahead and glance at this, we're not going to be seeing anything too crazy. We have Mika back in here for the support lineup alongside Bebe, like we've been seeing a lot more recently.
Yeah, this is the more common lineup to see for Hangzhou Spark right now, and it's really awesome that Mika is kind of... I know we've been saying it week after week recently, but he's really solidified himself as the starter here on main support over IDK, and he's looking really, really solid on heroes other than Mercy, which is where he got his start this season. But this team, I think, really has their work cut out for them coming up against Seoul Dynasty, a Seoul Dynasty that's coming off of a 9-map win streak, 3 3-0s back-to-back. You mentioned it to me, in rehearsal when we were talking about our storylines for today. It's like, well, I mean, 6 of those maps were against London. London's had a rough go of things as of late, but here's their starting lineup. Tuyu still in the mix here. It's going to be Toby and Badoshin on support. Tuyu showing a lot of diva, just more than just the Zarya as of late. He's looking really solid. Marvel's going to be starting with him, so no gesture today. And Prophet also, last week showcasing a lot of reminding people a lot of his skill on hit scan, or reminding them of his ability on hit scan. We'll see how he performs today.
Yeah, I mean, him pulling out the Ashe alongside Fitz has been really, really wonderful thus far for the side of the Seoul Dynasty. Still are going to be running Marvel in with Tuyu for map 1, and then in all likelihood, as we get ready to move into, Escort and Hybrid and whatnot, we will see Gesture step in with Tuyu maintaining that slot. And it's been working wonderfully for the Seoul Dynasty. I was talking about this with Jaws, with Hex when I was casting with him, and now with you. Yes, 6 of those maps were against the London Spitfire, but the biggest thing that you cannot take away from the Seoul Dynasty at all from those maps is how cohesive they looked. Everybody is on the same page as of late, and I'm excited to see that continue moving forward and see how they fare coming into this match versus the Hangzhou Spark. They're already able to take down the NYXL. Hangzhou Spark, obviously not, as far as the standings are considered, a stronger opponent compared to NYXL, but given their run in the Countdown Cup, given the fact that Seoul Dynasty lost to the Hangzhou Spark, I think that they're going to be very hungry to find revenge here today.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Seoul Dynasty can really, to take this win and to go for a 12-map win streak into playoffs. They have their match against London tomorrow, which most expect will be a 3-0 again. We'll see how London performs. Anyway, to go into tomorrow's match with a 12-0 and then potentially go to 15-0 into playoffs, I think that's a huge statement for a team that's been extremely inconsistent, not only this season, but over the last 3 years of their time in the Overwatch League. So it's time for Seoul Dynasty to really shine here, and maybe, just maybe, they can make that incredible run through the playoffs too if they can maintain this level of consistency.
Yeah, and I think that that is the biggest thing that all Seoul Dynasty fans are looking forward to right now. This is the first time really that they have this kind of streak going on, and I can't help but wonder for like a Seoul Dynasty fan, does it still feel like you're in a dream? Are you pinching yourself constantly, just being fearful that you're suddenly going to wake up and realize that this isn't reality? It's definitely a major change of pace for them, and if they can keep that ball rolling, then the Seoul Dynasty certainly they climb the power ranking standings. They and they're going to have to be a major consideration for potentially making a deep run in the playoffs on the APAC side of things. So we'll see if they can have just as strong of a performance here today. I think that at least from the DPS lineup, they're going to have a bit of a harder time coming up against the Hangzhou Spark. Because when they played against NYXL, it was kind of out of sorts with, Haksal and Nene. Libero was in there as well. They didn't look that clean. And then London, obviously, just kind of flopped overall. So going up against Godsby and Architect, I think is going to be more of a challenge here for the Seoul Dynasty. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they handle this.
Yeah, I am as well. We are jumping
We're just in a
right into this. So it looks like,
lobby.
It looks like Gushway didn't connect, so we're actually in limbo here.
Yeah.
For a second, I was like, "Whoa, Roadhog comp." Well, I'm like,
yeah, we're just
Prophet
straight
can't play
into it.
Ana.
Yeah, we're not on live, so we're not going to be seeing a ton of Roadhog yet. But if we get to that,
I
point,
I don't know if we will even necessarily see him in Asia. I mean, I think some teams will run him a little bit, but I don't know if he's going to be like a staple. I'm not sold on that yet. Because we do have a pause here.
We'll have to see. Obviously, there's certain players that have been known for their Roadhog in the past. I mean, Gregory is also one of those who has a pretty damn good Roadhog. So maybe if that does kind of become a bit more meta over here in APAC, maybe we get to see Gregory fielded a little bit more. But who knows?
Yeah, it was weird too when like
guesswork.
Roadhog was like a flex support role too for a while. We might see some of those players like field the Roadhog again if they're on the bench, because we do have some of those flex supports who are kind of on the bench right now because they've been replaced by newer Koreans who might be able to like pop back out with some Roadhog. It is hard to say. I think we will see some DPS players play Roadhog if he is played as well, just instead of playing DPS, move into the off-tank role. I think we'll see a little bit of that. But that's just my prediction. It has nothing to do with this series. We're not going to know about that until we get to playoffs, and there's still so much time before that because we have obviously next week off as well before that.
Yeah, I mean, who really knows what's going to occur? And I'm for again, Seoul Dynasty fans can't help but talk about this because there's been so much inconsistency. I'm curious to see how things are going to look for Seoul Dynasty when we come out of the hero pool, when we go into the playoffs, when everything has been lifted. Because right now they've found their groove. The comps that they've been running, having the Winston go very aggressively, like Jester's been playing it phenomenally. The Diva has been absolutely wonderful for 2U. So I'm curious to see if they can maintain the same level of cohesion and coordination when we just kind of lift all of the bans and put everything back in. Because I think on paper, they should be fine. Because obviously Prophet's got a very good Genji, Vince can run Tracer or vice versa. You can have Alyssa back in. I think that they should still be about as strong as we're seeing, but you never really know because it's the roller coaster.
Yeah,
so
I mean, you never know with Seoul Dynasty. The Seoul Dynasty seems to dominate certain metas as well, and they have historically, especially last year and this year. Like, last year at the end of the year, having double shield strengths, understanding how to play the Sombra meta, the Sombra Goats meta when that was really popular early on last year, and then this year having those strengths in double shield, and having the strengths that we saw obviously from them last week, where they did really well, but then having other metas like Echo when Echo first came out, where they just really dropped the ball, and historically have had great ups and downs when the hero pool is open again. And I think the unique situation with this hero pool being open and how much prep they'll have going into is they have a lot more prep than usual because of the extra week that we have, and the fact that I mean, honestly, they've been playing against some weak opponents back-to-back. They're having back-to-back wins. I think they're going to come into the open hero pool pretty well prepared.
Well, one could hope. We are going to, like you said, have that extra week after this one. So decent amount of time for people to get ready and try and, get some scrims in, see exactly what everybody's running, what is going to be the strongest composition as we do come out of the hero pool. So hopefully, all of the teams can take that time and really level up their performances, because we want as close of a playoff as we can possibly have as we, get ready to go towards the end of the season. Because I'm not really a fan of seeing the 3-0 blowouts. I'm sure that the Seoul Dynasty fans are absolutely ecstatic with that, and they're looking forward to the potential 15-map win streak. But, I want to see things a little bit closer. Even if it's a 3-0 in scoreline, just have the rounds be close, London's been able to deliver on that front from time to time, mostly with control, and then it kind of falls off a cliff after that. But if we get some more 5-game series, that's what I'm all about. I don't like my days being done this quick. Obviously, for you on the East Coast, you probably want to go to bed at some point. But I think we can push the limit a little bit.
For me, it's like I gotta drive to my parents' house as well after this for an hour. So it's it's a lot on my mind in that regard. But I think no matter how tired I am, if the games are good, it's going to wake me up. So
exactly.
I'm hoping for that. I hope we don't have a stomp here, but I think history has shown us, recent history has shown us that we should expect a stomp. And I wonder what Hangzhou Spark's game plan is here because, they've got Godsby, who's historically been a pretty strong Sombra player. I mean, I think we could see some Sombra. We should see some Sombra from him going into the series. And I think that they should just try to really throw a wrench into the gears of Seoul Dynasty. Seoul Dynasty have done some things somewhat predictably recently, running a little bit of extra Torbjorn, for example. They need to be prepared for that. They need to be ready for that when they're trying to run dive, when they're trying to run that rushdown style. And I think we are seeing a few teams run that rushdown style overall, even with the kind of like banned dive heroes this week, because it kind of leads into what everyone's practicing for playoffs at the same time. So I want Hangzhou to come in with a really good game plan. I want to see a lot of Sombra. I want to see, really big emphasis on ult economy, which Seoul has sometimes messed up. Oftentimes Seoul has relied on their mechanical skill and not the coordination. Even though they're looking better recently at coordination, I feel like that's something that Hangzhou could try to mess up and disrupt when using Sombra comps, for example.
Well, it looks like we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to find out what the Hangzhou Spark is going to be running here. I'm going to be expecting a little bit of the McCree and perhaps some Echo to come out from Architect, with Prophet likely matching on the other side of things. But we're going to have to wait a little bit longer, as we will have a quick little break coming up. So we'll be right back and hopefully jump into the first map of this series. So stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back. ready to jump into our first map of this series, our first series of the day. Hangzhou Spark versus Seoul Dynasty, in case you just woke up, got out of bed, got to your PC, or turned on your Chromecast, whatever your device you're watching on. So we're having a little bit of a pause. We had Guxue disconnect as we were getting into the game. We have our first map of Ilios, and hopefully we'll be good. And we can start the action and see if this is going to be the 3-0 that some people are predicting. I disagree, though. I think this could be a close one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you think it could be a close one?
I think that it could. I think that out of all of their performances, Spark, like Architect and Godspeed have been very, very strong overall, and I think that they could still very much contest with Prophet and Fitz. So I think that this is not going to be as easy of a match here for the Seoul Dynasty. That, and I don't think that they've done enough yet to deserve my faith in them. So I think that this could very well be a closer series for the Seoul Dynasty, and I think that the map streak might be broken.
I think that Prophet and Fitz, when they're at their best, when they're at their peak, I think are stronger players right now, and I think the coordination of Seoul Dynasty looks to be at a higher tier at this moment in time. But like you said, you never know how they're going to play. But if Seoul falls on the first map or has a really rough start, maybe they drop out 0-2 here on Ilios. It looks like we are finally back in game.
Huzzah!
Then I could see things changing. I could see the momentum shifting into Hangzhou Spark's favor. Seoul Dynasty's always been a very momentum-based team, an emotional team across the years. Even though this is a completely different roster, Toby being the only core member from year one and from Lunatic High, but Hangzhou Spark here, I think it would make a big statement for them if they were able to win this against Seoul Dynasty, especially in a meta like this. And so far we don't see Sombra from Godspeed. He's actually showing us the Echo. I don't know if that's actually going to hold true. I was going to say he's not really the Echo player. That would be Architect if that were to be true. And Fitz is on the Sombra himself with Tuyu on D.Va. I've been very impressed with Tuyu's D.Va in the last few matches. Very, very strong D.Va player. Reminds me of Fury in a lot of ways, and some of Fury's best moments over the years. And it's going to be Ash Sombra on both sides.
Yep, alright, so do have the mirror. We'll see who comes out on top here. Godspeed has always been a bit of a hit scan god. Prophet recently trying to remind us how strong his is. Dynamite just going to be consumed. As Marvel gets slept, Bionated, and Prophet going to be taken down. The headshot comes through. Godspeed finds a double tap to get the kill. Toby in position, though. Safe enough to bring the res through. Point contested for now. Bionated out of the 2. There's a hack onto Bebe, and he'll be taken out. Fitz manages to find that kill. It might be enough to try to break through here, but res comes thin. As that res comes out onto the Ana, Guxue going to be taken down, but it will be a trade out on the main tanks as Marvel falls as well. No Wrecking Ball there, and Hangzhou Spark will be able to lock down the point here at the start. Q, however, going to be pushed back. It's jumped on by Tuyu. He does manage to find that kill, but now will get knocked out of the mech himself. Rez comes in, puts Prophet back into the mix of things. As we see Fitz has to leap back. EMP's nearly online for both of these Sombras. Architect going to be getting his up just a little bit faster as he takes down Marvel yet again. The Seoul Dynasty have to go ahead and feel back.
Yeah, this is a problem that Seoul Dynasty has had. A lot of these matches they've lost this year, including that finals against the Shanghai Dragons, is just not knowing when to leave. They're a team that has mechanical gods, including Tuyu, their newest member to the roster. He's considered to be a really strong off-tank player, flex-tank player who's mechanically skilled. I think he believes that himself. They're almost getting staggered here, but you've got to know when to leave.
Yeah. Well,
and that was too late.
Yeah, they play really far forward here up against the Seoul Dynasty, all the way back towards their spawn. EMP was committed to the fight by Architect, managed to catch about 3 people with that one. They find the cleanup, so Hangzhou playing away from the point. Very nicely done as they go ahead and stretch above 60% now.
It's a team, and Seoul Dynasty's always been this way, of big egos, right? And when you're playing these scrappy team fights, sometimes you feel like you can turn it. I'm better than Architect, I'm better than Godspeed, I can turn this fight. But then you lose it, and suddenly you're at 75-0, and you've only got 1 team fight chance left here with this EMP. We've got 1 shot at this.
EMP comes in, manages to catch both of the tanks. He kills the follow. Into the follow-up hack there on Guxue. They do manage to take him down before the hack expires, so he can't pop the Primal Raid. But Struck comes in now from QOQ, looking for a pick. Won't be able to find one, but it creates enough space for Mika to get in a position to bring the res out onto Kushui. Bomb up over the top. Chuyu looking for a pick. Will not find one. Safely will remake. Marvel going to be slept. Bionade goes out. Bebe takes him down. We're into overtime now. Hangzhou Spark still holding the point. Fitz tries to turn it, gets rid of the Baby Diva. They have to stay in this one, keep it contested. The flip will come through. Seoul Dynasty finally on the board, but how long will that last? Chuyu going to be hacked. They push forward, looking to break him out of the mech. They will manage to do so. Hangzhou Spark back in control. Only 5% built up for the Seoul Dynasty. They do manage to touch right before the OT bleeds away. Still fighting tooth and nail to get this back into the favor. The Nano Boost is available from Badoshin. We'll see who he wants to toss it out on, or maybe he actually can hold on to it for a little bit longer. It would seem as they do manage to find 2 more picks here on the back end.
Yeah, and this is a really even ult economy that we're in right now, so Seoul Dynasty has to be extremely careful with what they use going forward. This next fight, obviously, EMP is not ready for either team, but they're about to come online. Seoul Dynasty cannot afford to lose this fight. If they can hold this fight without EMP, they've got a really good chance of swinging this round back into their favor and taking it. But if they have to use the Nano, they have to use the EMP in order to hold on to this. Even if they do hold it, Architect can hold his EMP and then come back in to finish it off. So this is the toughest fight Seoul Dynasty is going to have yet. But if they can win it, there's a chance here.
Nano has to be used to keep Marvel alive. Got hacked, almost got melted. Goes in, pile driver, not going to be able to connect with anything, almost has that minefield. Another hack comes through, he's trying desperately to retreat over to the Mega Pack, but they just cut him down, everybody pushing forward. The Dynamite now finds Profit right as he gets the bomb online. The Hangzhou Spark straight back in onto the point, trying to get this flip. EMP comes through, it finds 2 on the Seoul Dynasty, only 1 on the side of the Hangzhou Spark. QOQ will not be demeched off the back of that. Port's still staying alive here for the Seoul Dynasty as Toby takes to the skies with the Valkyrie, but Fitz will fall. Looks like Toby so far not going to be able to find a pick-off. Kushui just beating and batting to you away from that cliffside. Manages to knock him off the map, and the Hangzhou Spark will secure the first round win, 100% to 52. A very strong start for Hangzhou.
And we were critical of the Seoul Dynasty overextension there in that scrappy team fight where, you know, you've got these mechanically talented players trying to turn the tides in that scrappy fight. I'm talking about fights that look like they're, you know, you're 3v4 and you think you're the 3 and you think you can win it, you stay, you keep trickling onto the point, and Hangzhou Spark starts to solidify the position, you keep fighting in, you feed ult charge, you win it. But the thing that really stood out to me, besides Seoul Dynasty's minor blunder there early on in the round, was how good Architect's target selection of his hacks was. He shut down 2 several times, prevented him from escaping, prevented him from boosting away, shut down Marvel on the Wrecking Ball, and the Wrecking Ball pick ends up being fairly weak against the Sombra, who's constantly hounding him down, constantly tracking him, so Marvel had a really hard time. Architect is having a great match here so far, and
Oh man,
that happened.
Just styling on him. Drops over on the
he messed up his
He's
pile
already
drive.
At 53%. Look at his ult charge.
It's insane.
Unbelievable. Point's not even unlocked yet, and the guy's at 60% towards his minefield. Marvel has rejoined back into the fray as TU gets antied. Taken rather low here and will get demeched right in the last second before that Bionade expires. Kushui goes back in, gets the pile driver down, avoids Marvels, and is about to have this minefield online. This guy is putting on a clinic right now with this Wrecking Ball. You think the names away, I would think that this is maybe, you know, Among right now, but Kushui is just looking phenomenal.
I mean, getting an early kill like that is definitely going to help your ult charge, and also meant that Seoul Dynasty had to wait for Marvel's return, and Marvel's return had to be quick too, and a little bit haphazard because, you know, they needed to have the even numbers. So positionally, they were at a disadvantage. Risky play here from Fitz doesn't pay off. Architect hasn't done very much damage though. It's really been Kushui and Bebe leading the charge in terms of that. So he doesn't have that EMP ready for the defense.
It does not, but it might not matter. Looking for the hack here on the Marvel, who's still being taken rather low. 2U is going to be gone, so they don't have that D-Matrix to help mitigate the incoming damage from the Hangzhou Spark. Minefield now going to be plopped down. They jump on top of the high ground there against Fitz. Being kept alive for the moment. Looks like he was able to translocate out. Now nearly has that EMP ready to go, but Seoul Dynasty going to get something done on this point pretty soon here. 15% already on the board for the Hangzhou Spark.
I can't believe they both lived. Kushui and QQ both lived with like less than 100 health. And Seoul Dynasty can't engage now, they can't commit. They have Fitz ready and waiting, but he doesn't have a translocator where he wants it.
Well, they got a sleep dart on a Marvel, commit to self-destruct just to take him down. I'm now going to be tossed in by Godspeed. The EMP strikes from the side of the Seoul Dynasty. Instantly, 2 members going to be taken down. The bomb getting rid of Architect. for hit more now. Still do not have the point under their control. Fitz is going to be forced to jump back. Two tries to get his own self-destruct online. They'll get the break here onto the baby Diva. The minefield will finish her off. Flip comes in as the Hangzhou Spark hit 81%. It looks like Guxue, yeah, just going to be wanting to peel back, disengage now, and get ready for a reapproach. They know that they have time on their side.
Marvel is not the type of wrecking ball who can eat a nano here to defend the EMP. You know, we can't pretend like he's a top wrecking ball player in Korea right now, or rather in the APAC region right now. We have to be honest. I'm a little bit worried for Seoul Dynasty on this fight where Architect comes in with EMP. Guxue is having the performance of his lifetime here on this wrecking ball. He might take this nano. Could be QOQ as well, but this is a really good fight setup here for Hangzhou Spark. Seoul Dynasty needs to disrupt it somehow. They can't just take this sitting down. And it's going to be a really hard fight here because of that EMP advantage for the Spark.
Nano Boost goes out onto Guxue, keeps him up. Cosby finds a headshot on a Fitz, but it will be a trade out as Bebe falls. Nano Boost going to be used this on a Prophet. Dynamite goes forward. He's looking for a pick, but so far hasn't been able to find it. Everybody just peeling back out of his line of sight. QOQ pushes up. Rez comes in from Dobie. Really aggressive Rez. It does cost him. Cosby strikes down 2 members of the side of the Seoul Dynasty. Now a third as Marvel will fall as well. No tank line, the point back in their control. It's 84% here for the Hangzhou Spark. Seoul Dynasty now in one-fight territory from getting shut out of this map.
Yeah, and with the minefield and Bob available here for Hangzhou Spark, they can sort of zone Seoul Dynasty out. Guxue needs to be careful. He's going to retreat back and get that healing. Seoul Dynasty have to, they have to engage right now. They cannot wait.
Yeah, they get onto the point, but Marvel going to be eliminated before he can use the minefield. Now 2U tagging in, forced back. VMEX, EMP comes out from Fitz, but instantly has to translocate out to safety, and there's just no one in position to really follow up. They get Toby in there to try to get the res, but the bomb to the back will find Prophet. Now Marvel going to be taken down. Toby going to be floating around with that Valkyrie, but he's looking for an opportunity to try to get onto the point, and he just cannot do it. And the map streak has now been broken. Not going to be able to move up to that 10-0. The 9-0 is as good as it gets for Seoul Dynasty. Hangzhou Spark are able to take Ilios to start off this series with a win.
Really impressive plays from Guxue there in the end. His minefield kept Seoul Dynasty away. Obviously, they were kind of trickling back to the point, try to tag and try to buy time. It's hard when you're actually losing members to a self-destruct at that moment, right before that 99 to 100 swap through there. But I have to say, despite not doing a ton of damage in the team fights, I feel like Architect's hack targets worked out really well, and he was constantly shutting down the tank line, shutting down 2U, who's one of the high-impact players we've had for Seoul Dynasty in their last few matches, and shutting down, in this case, Marvel on the Wrecking Ball, shutting down a hero that is so impacted by right-click hacks, can't even really function that much. A Wrecking Ball can't when hacked, and he didn't look for fast EMP builds, he just looked for kills, and it's really reminiscent of Lip's playstyle on the Shanghai Dragons, and I like to see that.
Yeah, really, really clean. And then when Guxue swaps over onto the Wrecking Ball, he just shows off with it. I mean, an incredible start to that second map right there, that second round, rather, of Ilios surging forward in ult percentage. I'm actually going to go and watch that back in the break because it was that incredible. What he did right at the beginning there. But great start for the Hangzhou Spark. They have now stopped the streak, and they're one step forward for trying to take that 12-11 record and shut down the Seoul Dynasty's hopes of picking up a win. We're going to go to a quick little break, and when we come back, we'll have our second map, see if Seoul Dynasty can tie things up, or if the Hangzhou Spark will just be able to take another step forward, make it the match point. We'll find out in a bit, so stay tuned.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Ilios out of the way in this series as the Hangzhou Spark were able to take a 2-0 victory on that map over the Seoul Dynasty, so the map streak is over. But now it's all about stabilization for the Seoul Dynasty, trying to get back into this set and tie it up as we get ready to jump into Escort.
Yeah, and the map is going to be Gibraltar for this series, so I wonder if Prophet can do something else here. Can he play something other than the Ashe? Because it feels like Godspeed kind of controlled the sightlines on Ilios there, and that can be obviously a big problem for Prophet when he's trying to run this composition with the Sombra. Then you've got Architect's Sombra, which is really shutting down the Wrecking Ball, so I think we'll probably see Winston here from Seoul Dynasty if they want to run a similar composition, but we'll have to wait and see. But I'm a little bit scared for Seoul Dynasty suddenly. And, I was the guy who was just 10 minutes ago saying, well, I think we have to expect a 3-0 here for Seoul Dynasty. But after that first map, it's an emotional team, like I was saying before. And it's a team that just got shut down pretty hard by really nice hack selection from Architect and overall better ult economy. So it's not like it's impossible for Seoul Dynasty to bounce back. And after that one map, I'm just going to completely change my prediction. I think Seoul Dynasty can win this. But if it is going to be a Gibraltar that's decided by Winston play by sightlines of Ashe v Ashe, based on what we just saw, I'm a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I mean, Godspeed just dominated that matchup. Architect was just dominating, the tank line constantly. Whether it was 2U or Marvel, was always hacking them. Everybody was always following up on those hacks. And we just didn't see a similar impact coming through from the side of this whole Dynasty. We're very much out of sorts. I mean, Fitz was doing his damnedest and was often keeping pace, if not being in the lead, to building up his EMPs, but the follow-up wasn't often there, and he was sometimes, and I felt like the majority of the time, was trying to drag fights back in their favor by committing the EMP after Marvel had already fallen or after 2U was kind of already demeched. So it was a really rough position to be put in overall for the members of the Seoul Dynasty. And now they have to try to collect themselves and get back into this and have a very firm performance on Gibraltar.
And there were some moments, too, as you can see our map sets popping up here. There were some moments where Fitz was killed as Sombra because he got spy checked by Dynamite and was just blown up immediately by Godspeed. Godspeed's doing a great job of shutting down Fitz when he's trying to flank, when he's trying to set up for those EMPs. And a few of those fights, too, I mentioned it in one of the EMPs we saw from Fitz, but oftentimes he EMP'd by walking into the fight, which sometimes you have to. Sometimes you don't have a safe translocator. Sometimes you can't translocate in, especially on maps like Ruins, for example, where it's not easy to just simply translocate into the fight because the terrain doesn't allow for that. But I feel like Fitz has had a big problem getting in and trying to find impactful hacks and trying to find impactful EMPs, despite, like you said, often being the faster building EMP player because of how he's kind of farming EMP, whereas we saw Architect just kind of sit back and look for hacks on the tanks. So being a little bit of a mismatch here for Seoul Dynasty from the start, but they're going to defend first on Gibraltar here. And it looks like they are going to be running the Winston. Prophet not going to run the Ashe, though. He wants to take it straight to Widow. He wants to win that matchup right out of the gates.
As you can see there on your screen, first time that these two teams have squared off on this map. Let's see how Prophet is going to be faring now in the Widowmaker matchup. And I don't know about you, Wolf, but my feed froze. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, mine too. Okay, I was about to ask you. I'm like, we had to play professional caster chicken where like we both pretend like nothing went wrong for a second, but yeah, it's all good now.
All right, it's taken care of. Everything's fixed. So we're back in. We've got motion. Prophet getting some really nice little taps in. His gesture is just going to be sitting up top here, helping to gatekeep Gushui and QOQ off that high ground. So good anti-dive coming in from the Widowmaker. Quite a bit of damage through. Let's push up yet again. Snapping away at each other as 2U falls a little bit low. That pocket healing will start to come in as Bedosian surges up towards that first nano boost here. With a nice little 30% mod lead over Bebe for the moment. Prophet just waits for his moment to click ahead and take somebody out of the fight instantly. Dynasty.
Really struggling. There's
Back
a
and forth.
Nano out.
Yeah, got the flick there onto Gonsby. Nano will go ahead and help take down Bebe. Toby will fall. Playing right around the Rosie here, going around the side of the pillar, trying to get the kill. Mika finally will fall. And looks like QOQ doesn't really have anywhere to go. Not a position to try to stagger the Baby Diva, so they will just go ahead and finish him off. Meanwhile, Gushue does use that Primal Rage back over towards the card, but it's not really going to net him much. He can exit, jumps back over to safety with the rest of his squad, but as far as ult economy, right now it's very much in the hands of the Seoul Dynasty.
It definitely is, especially with that Primal being committed there. I mean, Mika had a Valkyrie coming online, and had he survived a little bit longer, maybe they could have turned it, but I mean, that was really wishful thinking. Fitz is actually in a really nice spot here. And this EMP should be very, very impactful. Seoul Dynasty should be able to do this very ult efficiently, too. They might only use this and the Primal Rage, if even the Primal. As Hangzhou Spark is just trying to farm up the last 25% of their own.
Oh, EMP with the bomb, drops in straight on top of Bebe's head, and they manage to find the kill. Looking for a little bit more on the follow-up. Nano Boost was used before Bebe got eliminated. Toss that one out onto Gushue. Mika finds the res onto Bebe, and the res comes in from Toby onto Prophet. Hit the can straight back into the fight, but Godspeed does manage to get rid of Fitz, but will just be a trade out. Very back and forth, very scrappy here in the extended fight. Seoul Dynasty trying to stop the card. For now, will be contesting it right at the top of this ramp as it comes out of the underpass. Prophet for now is going to be uncontested. It's another shot, follow-up body tag there onto the Baby Diva to finish off QOQ. And again, Hangzhou Spark going to have to go for a reset. 1 minute and 20 seconds now remaining.
I mean, the good news for Hangzhou Spark is that they have an EMP here, you know, and Seoul Dynasty used way more ultimates than I think they would have wanted to, and it was a really nice fight for Hangzhou in that regard. But the bad news for Hangzhou is this is their one chance, and a nice translocate spot here, but not going to work out, not going to get that kill. But Architect is the man right now. He's the only one who holds the cards here for Hangzhou Spark. The opportunity of a cap on A really lies in his hands. The fate of his team here on this attack is in his hands as Fitz just waiting, gaining information.
Gushue up onto that high ground, gets almost picked off. Bebe now hacked in the back line. The dive comes through. They capitalize, taking down that Ana, now looking for the follow-up. They will find that Mercy. So without support are the Hangzhou Spark. Has to run back, so is 2U. Will get demeched and finished off. Hack comes in as the EMP strikes. Catches 2 members on the side of the Seoul Dynasty as Gesture. Just wraps around the backside, keeps himself out of harm's way. Hart rolls forward, moves up here to the top of the ramp, as Fitz will be contesting for the time being as they wait for 2U to rejoin back into the fight. Protect on the high ground, looking to farm up as best he can for another EMP, but Fitz has one of his own. The self-destruct nearly there for 2U as well, so that combo is almost ready to go. Prophet looking for that Ash. So far hasn't been able to find him, and they just won't touch the card. They jump forward. Bionade connects in, and that is just going to be the Seoul Dynasty pulling off a full hold right in front of point A. Hangzhou Spark looking very disjointed after a pretty concise victory on Ilios.
Hangzhou Spark getting shut down by that EMP at the last moment. You know, they were trying to contest based on Gushue's Primal Rage, which is why they slow played the last moment, or the last lead up to that moment. Because Gushue is sitting at 85. Remember, he used his first Primal super early in a lost team fight, and was never able to find that impactful second one when it mattered most. I'm not entirely sure what replay we're going to see here. Is Rez comes into Prophet's double kill. But, I mean, this is a serious swing in terms of momentum for the Seoul Dynasty. I mean, they've got a full hold here so far to start things off. And also, beyond that, I mean, we're seeing really good coordinated plays. Like, the hack onto Bebe from Fitz and that collapse that we saw from 2U to get that kill was insanely well coordinated. It was a really cool move because Seoul Dynasty knew, okay, we don't have EMP. They've got EMP. They're going to win the fight straight up if we let them engage on their terms. But instead of letting them engage on their terms, they made it a 65 to start out. They were in the backline. They were threatening the backside. And Hangzhou didn't get that fight they wanted. Now, Hangzhou, you know, they're not out of this by any means, but this is going to be an incredibly difficult defense.
Yeah, I mean, trying to pull off a fuller hold is not going to be too easy. Prophet's going to go back over onto the Widowmaker here for the attack, where Godsby is still on the Ash, which is a bit of a head-scratcher for me, given his history as a Widowmaker player. Would expect him at least to be running it on defense, where he's going to have the superior sight lines to play around, but is just fully opting out of that. Seems like he wants to play more in the mid-range. That being said, does find a headshot with a boosted damage on a Prophet, so the res will be forced here from Toby. Prophet just making his way up around the side, and Gonsby is making me eat my words as he comes up with yet another kill, this time on a
He
Fitz.
keeps killing Fitz. It's insane how often he kills Fitz. He gets spy checked by QOQ and then blown up by Architect, or actually blown up by Godsby. Sometimes it's actually spy checked by the Dynamite from Godsby as well. He's just constantly tracking him. I don't think he wants to take this duel against Prophet here in this case, but Seoul Dynasty is slowed to a halt here for the start.
Are still moving steadily to the far side of that underpass, getting ready to now move up. It'll just be a regroup here for the Seoul Dynasty, playing with the time that they have available to them. Nano Boost comes in, they dive way deep into the back,
Great
and
nano.
Bebe will fall. Could not get Sleep Dart out, and 2U is just going to be profiting, scooping up those kills. Manages to find 2 of them. Jester's still dapping away, falls low, doesn't have that primal up yet, but the heals will start rolling in to keep him in the fight. Now he can re-aggress, going back into the server room and try to get that ult online. Spots out Mika, would love to get a kill here onto the Mercy, but can't quite find her. L3 will take him out to safety. This way, trying to alleviate some pressure, jumps on top of Prophet and Toby and will force them back. Has to exit himself, but now both Winstons in the next fight going to be having those Primal Rages available.
Yeah, and Fitz is going to have an EMP. This is going to be the big problem that Hangzhou Spark has to deal with. Bebe cannot get hacked. He has to have that nano boost. It's absolutely imperative that Gushua gets his full health pool here. He can't get hacked either if he can help it. He's going to have to play passively. If he gets hacked, it's all over.
They're going to strike first, and Nano Boost goes out. There was a Sleep Dart connected from Fedosian onto Gushua as soon as he went in for the dive. Primal now going to be popped. Batter Fedosian around, but can't quite isolate him into a corner and just has to exit. The Bionade forcing him back. Another sleep connects, they wake him up. Gushua comes down here onto the low ground. EMP comes out, Gushua instantly eliminated. 2 other members hacked on the side of the Hangzhou Spark as the bomb tries to chip away at whatever it possibly can, but it's not getting any meaningful damage in. Mika has enough space to bring Gushua back into the fray as Architect will get a hack, will get a finishing blow now onto Gesture. But without their main tank, Seoul Dynasty, push forward. They're looking for the res. Toby can't quite get it though. Gonsby finds that headshot. A hack on the Prophet will ensure his demise as well. Down to 1 minute and 10 seconds, just 1.79 meters away. Seoul Dynasty are going to have to take another crack at this.
Yeah, this was actually a really nice defense for the Hangzhou Spark. Everything looked Seoul Dynasty favored. They had the EMP. They wasted the Nano and the Primal Rage before using the EMP and still weren't able to get the kills they needed. They still weren't able to finish off the Hangzhou Spark in their most dire moment. And now the ult economy pendulum has swung back into the favor of the Hangzhou Spark. Seoul Dynasty don't have great tools to open up this point anymore. They're going to look for a Fitz hack kill again, just like we saw before on their defense. Trying to kill us. They get the translocator.
Find Architect, 7 HP, can they take him down? The EMP is going to come out, manages to find both of the main tanks on the side of the Seoul Dynasty. The res is there instantly from Mika to put him back into the fight. Fantastically done there, and that might just be enough to shut down the Seoul Dynasty. Q makes his way back into the mech, but already, had to use that self-destruct just to ensure that he can get back in. Prophet under fire in the back line will be taken down, and suddenly looks like the Hangzhou Spark might be able to pull off this fuller hole.
It looks like they're going to.
Kobe's got nowhere to go. There's 6 seconds remaining. Somebody's going to tag. It's going to have to be Fitz. Prophet swaps over onto the Ash. Kobe's going to be eliminated now, and Gesture is gone. They get the tag on the card.
Unbelievable.
Move back down. It's going to be Fitz. He tags it yet again, but he is down on arrival. The bomb comes out. The OT will bleed away, and oh my goodness, they have actually done it. Hangzhou Spark, after such a lackluster attack, pull off a massive defense. The Buller hold on Watchpoint Gibraltar to move up 2-0 in this series over the Seoul Dynasty. That is going to be heartbreaking.
And they do it despite being down on ultimates. They do it despite Seoul Dynasty having those really big advantages. They forced out the Primal Rage, the Nano Boost, and they had the EMP after that. They got the hack onto Gushue. They took him out, and yet still Hangzhou prevailed. They still survived. They still delayed. Obviously they had the spawn advantage, so that helped them quite significantly. But Godspeed just will not be stopped. He's getting consistent damage done. He's getting kills where he shouldn't be able to. He's killing Prophet, in Ash v Widow. Wow, I did not expect the series to go this way, and both teams played incredibly well there on Gibraltar, but it looked Seoul favored. Again, it looked like Seoul's got this in the bag. It looks like Seoul has this series in the bag before we start, right? They have all the momentum. They're doing really well in this meta. They've got the 9-0, now 9-2 record they had behind them going to this match, and suddenly everything's changed. That was an extremely close map, and anything could still happen in the series. I don't think we're necessarily still looking at a 3-0 here for Hangzhou now, but this has been a great, very close and exciting match so far.
I mean, it really has been. Just both teams kind of dropping their spaghetti on the ground there on Gibraltar. But, man, I mean, so close. 7 more damage onto Architect, and Seoul Dynasty likely, push through. This is a tied-up series 1-1, but they can't get the damage in to finish him off in time. He manages to get the EMP off. The Bionade follow-up from Bebe is perfect to shut down the tank line, and it all just unravels for Seoul Dynasty. So now we're in a position where they have to try and pull off a reverse sweep. It was a very close series the last time these guys played. It did go 3-2, but Hangzhou were able to walk away with it. Can they even get wins on the board now is the question for Seoul Dynasty. They have a little bit of extra time to get themselves settled, to get their minds into the game, to try to pick up that map win, as we do have a game break coming up. So stay tuned, guys. When we come back, Wolf and I will be breaking down the first 2 maps of the series because there's quite a bit to unpack, so don't go anywhere.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is now time for our game break presented by Cheez-It Grooves. It's a 2-0 here, Wolf, for the side of the Hangzhou Spark, but especially on Watchpoint Gibraltar, very, very close. The 2-0 doesn't really tell the story overall.
No, it really doesn't. I feel like the series could still go to a 5th map if Seoul Dynasty can solidify their ult economy a little bit. They were seeing a little bit of overcommitments, but we could say the same about Spark. Remember, they had a big problem that they didn't have their Primal Rage on their attack themselves, and then they tried to go for that last-ditch attempt to use Primal to tag, but then we saw the hack go, the solo hack, I think it even was on the Gooshway, so he couldn't Primal and couldn't touch the cart. It wasn't a C9, as I think a lot of people at home might have wrongly thought, but we're seeing mistakes on both sides. It feels very much like it's a high-stakes match when in reality it really isn't for these two teams in terms of the overall scheme of the standings. They're both 11 and 11. Seoul Dynasty has an easy opponent coming up next, or not next week, but tomorrow in London. In terms of what we've seen from them already, 6-0 versus London, you would expect a 9-0. But it feels like both teams are playing like it's a semifinals where you see just crazy mistakes and tension is high and emotions are high and everyone's freaking out. But it's actually just a the last regular season match for Hangzhou, and Seoul Dynasty second to last regular season match. That won't even affect them in playoffs too much. So it is interesting to see how crazy this has turned out to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of insanity that's been going on in this series. But I was kind of talking about this, and maybe this is our crunch time. I don't know. Maybe you have something you want to talk about in crunch time, but I'm going to start crunch time, presented by Cheese and Grooves, and then finish my point and see what you got for me. But I feel like a lot of this is to do with the DPS duo. I was talking about these guys coming into this series and why I thought this was going to be a much closer series, why I suspected that this whole dynasty would not be able to run over this set. And not saying that the rest of the team from the Hangzhou Spark isn't playing phenomenally, because Mika's pulling off some clutch reses. You've got Guxue, who is just doing Guxue things, whether it's on the Winston or the Wrecking Ball. He's been playing phenomenally. Kyokyu is there. And then you've got Godsby and you've got Architect, who are just, kind of playing out of their minds. They're punishing the dives coming in from this whole dynasty, and Godsby is just never losing sightline advantage. It's just amazing to see.
Yeah, I mean, I want to add on to your point about Mika. I mean, we talked about how he's kind of now the main support over IDK, but he's been able to play Mercy. He is playing a lot of Mercy right now, and it's making impactful reses happen. So he's saving Godsby in those rare moments where he's overwhelmed by Gesture, or Marvel rather. And we're seeing a really phenomenal Mercy performance here. With not just the reses, but his survivability. He's being chased down, but he's using his Guardian Angel to fly to different targets and escape death, then come back in with 20 health, and then res somebody, then get healed back up. His healing throughput must be off the charts because he's just so difficult to kill, and he's healing multiple targets repeatedly. And that's one of the players that's really standing out to me right now that might not be as obvious as, Godsby's popping off, he's getting these kills, he's killing Fitz repeatedly.
Yeah.
But I feel like Mika is really doing well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, while he's doing all of the things that you just listed, he is damage boosting Godsby to allow him to win out these trades over the likes of a Widowmaker. So he's really playing this multifaceted Mercy role to a T, and it's phenomenal to watch. A bit of a silent carry, as you're kind of saying here on that last map especially. So it's been really great to watch Mika kind of enable the rest of this team to play the way that they're playing to get that fuller hold pulled off.
I think Seoul could do this. I think they can bring it back. I think they can win this series, but they really need to be. There's no room for error anymore. You really have to take every fight perfectly. I mean, you can't have any more of these fights where Fitz is picked early because he's trying to do something greedy. I like what we're seeing from Fitz a lot of the time, where he's looking for those backline hacks, and then he calls it out, and 2U dives in, and they get that kill, in the backline. That one on the Bebe, for example, really stood out because they knew, okay, Hangzhou have EMP. We're going to take this into our hands. We're going to take the fight on our terms. I like to see stuff like that, but oftentimes he's doing things that are even riskier or crazier, like trying to solo kill Bebe by himself, or going off on his own with no safe translocator and trying to get a kill or a big hack and dying, trying to kill Godsby and dying. These things have to stop. They need to, when they have ult advantages, use their ults more sparingly if possible. Because they do just kind of all press Q sometimes in these fights where I'm like, oh, you have 6 ults and they have 2. If they use 2, you don't have to use 4, right? It feels like we're seeing a lot of those team fights that they could be using their ults more conservatively in.
All right, well, you think that the Seoul Dynasty can make it happen. I'm curious what the fans are thinking as they watch this series, because I'm not sure, honestly. I'm kind of on the fence on this one. But a reverse sweep is what they need if they want to take this series, and they got to dig deep if they want to pull that off. We're going to find out if they're able to do that when we come back from the break. We'll be seeing the rest of this set. So let's see if Seoul Dynasty can put a win on the board as we get ready to move into Eichenwald.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
New York City, let me hear you! What up, DC?
Welcome to the first Dallas homestand of 2020.
Philadelphia! Overwatch has come home to Houston in front of a packed crowd here today.
Damn, it's good to be back.
Oh, the gravy! The bomb stuck to the back! Goodbye! Good night!
Oh, he gets jumped upon Color Hex. Oh, very cheeky. No!
What? Project's already got it! Popo gets 4 with a fire strike! What is going on? Atlanta Rain! Self-destruct to the back like Jerry! He tried to make the moves! Jerry! Oh my word, he falls to his death! Jerry!
This is the live Watchpoint pre-show.
As you're enjoying those last hot little zips. That's
No!
not shading.
Wait, it's a live show. It's a live show. What are you doing here?
Hear me out.
Thank you for joining us here at the Overwatch League around the world for this special online broadcast.
You know, the world's a little bit crazy out there, so hopefully we can provide a well-deserved, well-needed digital reprieve for you.
Pulse Bomb gets the stick! Ooh, that's 4 for Jinbu! Unbelievable! Another stick! And that's a duplicate for the ages.
Oh my God, Poco!
Dominated. A little bit of unlucky!
So you're 1-0, undefeated. What does that mean to you personally?
Wow, I mean, it's to be expected. I mean, pretty much the best player. I would argue the best player to ever live.
You just need to pick the May.
Come on, pick the May.
Pick the
There we
May.
May! Nori works!
May!
The system works! Nori is the hero we need but don't deserve.
We had an extended appetizer, but now the main course is finally here. The May Melee. Jake, it's finally time.
The Shanghai Dragons have done it. I cannot believe what we have witnessed. The reverse sweep.
That's all it's going to take for San Francisco. They are your victors here on the Overwatch League May Melee.
DM and Lee J gone against the world, but they cannot get there. The Guangzhou Charge have done it. They will take the grand final, shutting down the Shanghai Dragons.
The Paris Eternal shutting down the Fusion. They denied them of their crown. The Paris Eternal take the series.
The clock has struck midnight on the Countdown Cup, and the Shock are victorious.
Shanghai Dragons assert themselves as the best team in the APAC region, potentially the best in the world.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and carry on with the rest of this series. Hangzhou Spark currently leading 2-0 as we get ready to jump onto Eichenwald for our hybrid map to see if the Seoul Dynasty can buckle in and get ready to try and pull off a reverse sweep.
That's the hope, right, for the Seoul Dynasty fans at home. The streak is ended. But, you know, the first map, there were problems. It was not close. You know, Hangzhou had pretty much full control of the ult economy. Seoul Dynasty taking some fights they probably shouldn't have. Didn't regroup quickly enough on Lighthouse, for example. But Gibraltar, it was really back and forth. It was neither team was able to really crack point A. It was really scrappy fights. And that could continue into a map like Eichenwald. Eichenwald's going to play a little bit differently once you get past A. If there's a full hold, it could look very similar, obviously. But once you get past A, you get onto the more open map where there's a bridge, not a drawbridge. And it's much more open. That's when the ult economy is going to be really important because you're going to have to reset. You can't take those scrappy fights. The distance between the teams is going to be so great that a single pick from a Widowmaker can't win you a fight, but it can lead to small advantages, for example. I said Widowmaker, I meant to say Ashe. IDK is subbing in, which I find a little bit odd. I'm a little bit surprised by.
I'd have to bend down to be able to see that on my monitor. But yeah, an interesting change-up to see coming through here.
Yeah, I did not expect that.
A changing of the styles, perhaps, for Hangzhou Spark. So we'll have to see what they have ready for us on Eichenwald.
Yeah, I mean, IDK obviously most famous for his Lucio, but interesting to see how this is going to play out. I don't think he'll be playing Lucio here necessarily, but I mean, you never know. I just hope that he's not playing Mercy, because if he is, I'm like, but did we not just see how great Mika has been playing? I mean, he's been playing great all season long on the Mercy, but in that particular Gibraltar game, I mean, he was one of the big reasons why they won. So I'm curious to see why IDK's in. It's a bit of a puzzling choice to me.
Well, we'll see what exactly they do have prepared for us. I mean, there's been some teams who are tooling around with running, the Lucio, mostly I would say in North America, is kind of where we're seeing that pick come through a bit more so. But I don't know. Obviously, when you get to the bridge, like you said, not a drawbridge. When you get to the bridge, that Lucio can be massively impactful. That's where Toby made a name for himself. But it looks like, at least for now,
Hackfist?
They're hovering it. But this is going to be interesting to see.
Oh, they're on attack.
First on the attack, so the
shield was misleading. Get that shield out of here.
They certainly could. They're probably going to be swapping it up after this, but and
well,
I
mean,
I kind of missed that.
I mean, I think the I don't know. I think this could be real. Like, I think Reaper is quite strong on A on a first push. You got to swap if it fails. It's good with Lucio. It makes sense why IDK's in if it's true. And with 5 seconds to go here, I think this is the game plan. They're just going to run this Reaper rush composition, and your Sombra can harass the backline, but also can be kind of like peel for your team as you kind of slowly try to get on the point. If this team gets on the point, if Hangzhou gets onto A, they kind of win the fight no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, so that's already a team on the 2U. And this is exactly what they're looking for. Just make sure that they can't mitigate with the defense matrix and just have the Reaper bust people down. It's a good start, but profit-finding IDK gives them their mobility. Taking down that move speed. Obviously, the tanks still have high mobility, being able to dive forward, as Fitz does get hacked and eliminated by Architect. I might outwork it a little bit of damage, but it's going to have to be a recontest here for the Seoul Dynasty, as they will lose Bedosha now on the back end. And
they're just going to let it go,
I think. To be, a concession rather, of point A, as they're just not in a position to try to capitalize and get back in. So it's going to be over 5.5 minutes now in the time bank for the Hangzhou Spark. Absolutely massive for them as they go into the street space.
Well, you mentioned it earlier, you get the hack on to you, and then he can't D-Matrix the damage that's coming out for Adorcia. Then they get onto the point, and then Gesture just can't contest. They can't win any trades. And on A is going to be wonderful and brilliant. Now on the street space here, it's not going to be as effective. You're going to get outranged, you're going to get outpoked. Adora's going to have a hard time here. You're going to try to engage him, and you can see the teleport dive coming through here, basically. And it doesn't work out. Like, this falls flat on its face. And I think Adora's probably going to have to swap here.
Not at all how they wanted that to go, the nano dive, so lose out on that. Self-destruct over the top from QOQ, looks for a pick, but everybody peels back inside of the castle here off the rampart, so they do stay safe. So 2 ults kind of tossed in, but the card has been free moving for the time being, but this is around the time where things can start getting locked up.
Yeah, and Seoul just can't let Adora walk up to, the end of the bridge and fight on B. You can't just walk up there. That can't be allowed to happen.
Goodbye. IDK just gets absolutely obliterated. Hack into the stomp, takes him down. the hack here onto Fitz, but he will be able to survive, and now they have this choke controls. The cart is just right around the archway. It's going to be a very dangerous position for the Hangzhou Spark to get held up. They do nearly have that Death Blossom EMP combo, now is ready to roll.
It's just so hard to execute
that.
that.
Break in.
Yep, hack onto Bob early in the fight. Architect looking for an EMP setup here, but Seoul Dynasty just aren't giving him the ground he needs, and the rest of his team is dying while he tries to get that perfect setup. I mean, Death Blossom is an ultimate that you can't rely on. You can almost never in professional Overwatch across the years, outside of like the Beyblade meta in 2016-17, like you could never rely on a Death Blossom being your initiation, your point of attack. If you're relying on that, especially when your opponent's got high ground like this, you know, you're running a risky composition. You're using a really risky style of play. And I think Hangzhou Spark should have considered swapping earlier. I mean, they have a huge time bank, but it's falling by the wayside quickly.
EMP does come through from Architect, only manages to find Prophet, who will be taken out pretty quickly, and Tuyu will not be allowed to remech. Jester, however, half HP with the primal range as it gets ready to expire, jumps up here onto the high ground, recontests against Gushui, nearly gets the kill, forces the primal, but will be taken down by QOQ in the end. Hangzhou Spark looking like they will be able to break through here at the back end of this fight, as Gushui goes pretty deep into the back lines and has certainly overstepped. Let's get finished off.
Hey, look at Adora's position.
Above. Oh,
his position is... Yeah, he was up on the high ground there. And, I mean, he can use this ultimate to prevent Seoul Dynasty from regrouping. There's the nano.
He's out. Death Blossom, he's going to be pushing in, but everybody has already peeled away from him. So Death Blossom not going to be able to find too much, and he's not getting that much damage in. Now gets on top of Jester, who desperately tries to get over to the mini-pack, but even if he had found that, likely would have still fallen. The HP return on that is not too great. The cart will be allowed to move up here into point B. With 3:45 remaining on the clock for the Hangzhou Spark. So it was a decent time buy here for the Seoul Dynasty. They certainly did chip away at that massive time bank that Hangzhou started with, but now it's all about denying a finish of the map. EMP is nearly there for Fid. They're going to have a bomb. They do have a couple delay tactics here to try and win a fight. The Struck, however, comes out first from QOQ. Everybody ducks around the corners, gets behind the pillars to keep themselves safe. The bomb goes in, but Gesture knocked up into the air. Let's get finished off. Good see there from Bebe. EMP now comes through. Fitz managing to catch the front line yet again, but everybody peels back. They wait out the EMP, and it's an absolutely huge one now from the side of Architect. Manages to find 4, and instantly 2 are going to be gone. Now 2 are going to be popped out of the mech as well before he can get that self-destruct online. And suddenly,
really,
the Hangzhou Spark will just be able to roll in with a still very healthy time bank here.
Yeah, this is going to be insane.
Somebody's got to get there, but they can't. 256.
256. And Fitz's EMP, you could tell, I mean, it was actually, sometimes you get these moments in Overwatch observing that give you hints as to what's going on in comms, but because, you know, we don't know what's going on in comms, we don't have that in our ears right now. I mean, we can obviously get that later if we want to, but in that moment where we had Prophet's vision, or his first-person view, this is a really cool hack kill, you can actually see the way the Prophet's set up and where he's looking at, that when the EMP comes through, the Prophet was not expecting the EMP to be used like that. He wasn't in position to try to capitalize on hacked targets, get kills, even set up a dynamite. And Fitz just EMP'd clearly on his own. Either that or Prophet was trying to do his own thing, and the rest of the team was on the same page. By the way, there's a huge disconnect there between the DPS players on Seoul Dynasty. EMP comes through, and Prophet's like looking away and hiding back. He's not firing at anyone. It's a moment like that. You sometimes see glimpses in Overwatch observing of moments like this that, you know, you could see in Prophet's first-person view of what he's looking at, that there's a coordination problem there. And Hangzhou Spark just have the counter EMP right afterwards and finish the map. Their EMP extremely well coordinated, and Reaper is a hero that is unforgiving. If Reaper gets on the point and gets into your backline, and your tanks can't peel for Reaper. Reaper will kill your tanks and then kill your backline. Yep. You've got to be proactive as a hit scan player against the Reaper. It is going to be Reaper for the defense here for Hangzhou. Prophet, you know, he's been playing a lot of hit scan. He's coming up, you know, he's not coming up big this time, not in this series. He's not out poking the Reaper. He's not winning those trades like he needs to be in a matchup that's favored for Seoul. The Reaper is terrible against McCree, terrible against hit scan on high ground, and yet still Adora is able to close that gap every time. Prophet cannot let that happen.
Moves off the Ashe, now goes in for the McCree. Gets the fan of the hammer on the back end of the flashbang there around the corner, but not enough to try and take down Gushwei. A nice sleep dart connects onto IDK to get the Bionade, but they need a little bit of follow-up damage to finish him off, and they're unable to find it, so he will be able to stay alive. Dora pulls back with a Wraith Walk. Joins in with the rest of his team. Moves up around that corner. 36 HP remaining. He'll start coming through. They can't finish him off. Prophet hacked. Has to back out and gesture. Left out the try. Will be eliminated. Prophet strikes back. Gets rid of both of the DPS members here for the side of the Hangzhou Spark. And that's going to be the go button now. Nice teammate tricks from QOQ. Will deny the headshot going in onto IDK. So the Lucio in the fight as Prophet gets jumped on. Has a sliver of HP and gets finished off. IDK striking back. Finding some vengeance for nearly getting eliminated. The Seoul Dynasty are now going to have to reset. Almost got a first tick here on point A, but it doesn't work out in the end as IDK continues to frag out of control.
I mean, I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of Seoul Dynasty of their composition versus Reaper. If you're going to run the McCree, you need to slow push, give McCree sight lines, and just try to chip away. If the tanks commit in, you burst them down. If they don't, you chip away at the Reaper. And Prophet dies again early, you know? And this is the end of this push. You're going to have to wait for a reset. And you could not be here in Primaling. I don't know about this one, Gesture. Oh
yeah,
my god.
A big question mark for me. Makes his way over. Point going to be contested at the moment of, minor little back cap coming through, but Gesture just lands, getting nothing done with the Primal Rage. They still had so much time. EMP now comes in from Architect. And just multiple members. 4 going to be hacked on the side of the Seoul Dynasty, and Prophet just gets eliminated by the solo bomb committed to the fight. Red will come in, but Dora drops straight on top of Bedoshin's head. Pops the Death Blossom, finds the kill. We are going into some weird backwards land right now, Wolf, as the fight is all over the place. The dive comes in from the tanks. They get rid of Prophet. Toby is going to fall, and I don't know what is going on anymore.
Well, I have to say we're seeing a very weak performance from Prophet right now.
What is this bizarre reality?
And when you see this is a weak performance on Prophet's McCree. I mean, when you fan the hammer a Reaper who you can't really kill unless you hit everything perfectly, he's gonna wraith away. Like when that's your game plan, I'm like, why are you playing? Why aren't you just gonna play Mei then? If that's what you want to do, like you gotta outrange him. They're so frustrated they've swapped themselves to the Reaper to try to get the mirror, but now they have the problem they're crashing into an EMP here.
Yeah,
this is almost checkmate for Seoul Dynasty.
They had to sleep there to try to set up for the Deadeye, but they get woken up. The Defense Matrix is there yet again. Now Architect has another EMP, throws that forward. EMP comes down, catches 3 members. Nano Boost was used by Bedoshin beforehand, however, on to Fitz. Gushwei goes into the back line. Dora gonna manage to take down Gesture moments before you get that Primal Rage online. Fitz will also fall, and suddenly it's 24 seconds left for the Seoul Dynasty as Prophet desperately tries to stay alive, but they are chasing him down, and it looks like
that's all she wrote.
Another full hold at the hands of the Hangzhou Spark. They get the fuller hold on Gibraltar, and now Seoul Dynasty, with a 62% win rate, I believe, on this map, are just gate kept inside the spawn. No one can leave. Prophet manages to get rid of Gushwei. Gesture makes his way over onto the point to force up the OT with the rest of his Primal Rage, but now he is by himself. He is focus fired, and somebody needs to tag. And I just don't think they're going to be able to do it, and they absolutely cannot. Hangzhou Spark pull off a 3-0 sweep over the Seoul Dynasty, and man, it wasn't even close.
It wasn't even close. I mean, that was just a really, really poor response to the Reaper, I have to say. Like I'm a little bit disappointed with Seoul Dynasty on that last map, because after we saw Gibraltar, I thought, okay, this could be a close series. I want this to go a little bit further. I want to see some back and forth action. There were some problems with ult economy and some hard engages by Fitz. For example, the EMP I was talking about there on the defense that just totally failed. Prophet wasn't ready to capitalize on that. Time bank insane. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That can happen. You can mess up some team fights. We do sometimes see those big time bank finishes. But then when you're like when Prophet's on McCree and he's like trying to sneak up on a Dora and flashbang fan the hammer a Reaper, I'm like, no, that's what Reaper wants to be. He wants you to almost kill him, get healed by an Ana, then shoot you in the face. You want to be far away from the Reaper. You want to chunk him down. You want to poke him. You want to outrange him. Just seeing the way that was played and the frustration clearly on Seoul Dynasty, not Gushwei, sorry, Gestures weird Primal Rage on top of the late swap from Fitz onto the Reaper. I don't know. Seoul Dynasty, it was almost like they were just like, I'm done with this map. At some point, it felt that way.
There was so much just panic it felt like from this Seoul Dynasty there on Eichenwald, and you could tell they roped themselves into a really poor position, because I understand the McCree Reaper setup to try and play the anti-dive, because they were constantly getting punished by Gushue, by QOQ, so they want to have that setup, but they have it reversed because they wanted Fitz initially on the Sombra. So that doesn't work out, so then he goes to the Reaper, but ideally you would want Fitz on the McCree and then Profit on the Reaper. He's got much more experience
it's a hero
playing
pool problem. It's a hero pool problem.
So they completely have this inverse of where they want to be with the composition, and even aside from that, the cohesion was just completely lost. I said earlier that the thing that you can't take away from Seoul Dynasty in their victories from last week was the cohesion that we saw in the coordination that they had brought and had leveled up in those games versus London Spitfire versus NYXL. We can't take that away from them, but clearly the Seoul Dynasty can take it away from themselves, because it was completely absent in this series. We're not really playing together at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Profit could play Sombra, then I feel like that would have been a non-issue, right? If Profit was a really good Sombra player, then Fitz could have played Ashe, Fitz could have played Widow even, or McCree. Fitz is a great McCree player, but they need a Sombra, so he has to play the Sombra. So suddenly you've got Profit, who's a flex player. I mean, he has had his moments on hit scan, especially last week. He had some great moments, and we were like, man, Profit's hit scan, don't forget. But today it was like, wow, we think we need a more experienced McCree player. Like, Fitz should have been on the McCree, but he couldn't be because Profit's Sombra is so poor that the Seoul will never run him on it, and that's a huge problem. I mean, that's a weak point exposed in this series that could affect playoffs, honestly, if the meta is similar to what we're seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, so the map streak now finished, the win streak taken away from them by the Hangzhou Spark, and we've ranted about, Seoul Dynasty and their shortcomings in this series enough. Let's go ahead and celebrate the winners, more specifically, their player of the match on the side of the Hangzhou Spark, presented by Xfinity. Today, it is Gushue, who played a phenomenal series throughout, whether it was on the Winston, which we saw the majority of the time, or the Wrecking Ball. As brief as it was a brilliant sight to see.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't get that Wrecking Ball kill from him on Ilios on the replays here. I mean, it was like just from the beginning, this guy was absolutely trashing on Marvel and Gesture in terms of the matchup. And it's made it a lot easier when you have someone like Mika supporting you as well. You don't always think of Mercy as pocketing a Winston, but Mika did a great job of keeping Gushue alive in a lot of these moments too. And I really enjoyed watching his play. I think Godspeed and Architect, though, honorable mentions for sure. Really nice DPS line from Hangzhou tonight. It was what you pointed out as you thought might be the reason why this match would be close, and not a 1-0 or a 3-0 from Seoul. It ended up being the opposite, and I think the DPS lineup was also a huge part of that.
Yeah, and that was, me giving too much credit to the Seoul Dynasty. And now looking forward, there's obviously one more match that has to be played for them. It's the lone match tomorrow versus London Spitfire. And if that's not another blowout series for the Seoul Dynasty, then you're going, it was like going up like this. Everybody's excited, like, oh my God, we're crushing. Look at this win streak we got going on. And then you're just going to tank it right back down into the ground for your potential playoff run if you cannot have a strong series there. Good job to the Hangzhou Spark. This was really concise. This is what we needed to see from them after they got 4-0'd at the end of the Countdown Cup. Seoul Dynasty, get your work boots on, sit down, start cramming for this test, because playoffs is around the corner. You've got that match versus London tomorrow, and it cannot be close for you. It cannot be a loss, or else everybody is just going to lose all hope. Man, what a series here. Great job for the Hangzhou Spark. We're not done yet, though. Aforementioned team, the London Spitfire, will be taking to the stage here in just a moment as they get ready to go up against the New York Excelsior, who are also looking to bounce back after their loss versus the Seoul Dynasty. So both of these teams suffering losses there. Now we'll see who can come out on top. So stay tuned. We'll have that second series coming up in just a bit.